This is a fictional mindbender. In the Boondocks, Jasmine Dubois and Cindy McPherson, aka C-Murph, represent two sides of the same cultural phenomenon from the late 90s and double O's known as wiggas. Now, I'm sure I don't need to explain what the riff off that is, so I'm not going to say. But it was a product of the infusion of rap and hip-hop into mainstream American youth culture. The music, the coolness of the videos, and the different and rebellious style of dress drew a strong appeal to white kids living in the burbs. The music video by the double O group The Offspring, Pretty Fly for a White Guy, encapsulates this movement very well. White kids adopting all the outward mannerisms, culture, and appearances of urban culture without experiencing where those attitudes came from or what created them. And on the flip side of this cultural exchange was also an increasing number of black families moving to the burbs from inner cities, though not all. My family was one of them. And from that came an increasing number of interracial relationships, at least in the public eye. So that by the late double O's and 2010s, it was more common to see biracial children in suburban schools and whatnot. And in the Boondocks TV series, creator Aaron McGruder takes both sides of these phenomenons and throws them together, and even to a degree, flips the yin-yang around completely. Jasmine is the daughter of Tom and Sarah Dubois, and given their high middle-class lifestyle in Woodcrest, is pretty well off. And because of this, as everyone knows, she comes off as a naive young girl and largely ignorant of the world, unlike her friends Huey and Riley Freeman. And this is much to the former's annoyance. The Boondocks frequently shows her as being clueless of others trying to manipulate her, and she seems to also represent the identity issues that biracial children faced that was unique to their situation. Neither white kids who wrestled with the changing cultural American identity, nor black kids who lived in urban societies and struggled with prejudice and racial issues. I would say that to Huey, the answer is obvious. But because her environment is populated by mostly successful and well-off white families, as identifying more with them, even not liking her own naturally curly hair that comes from her black side. Cindy McPherson, however, is almost the antithesis of this, in that, at least on a superficial level, she's well aware of the struggles and criminal element of the inner city. Perfectly put on hilarious display, mind you, in the episode The Fundraiser, when treating salient chocolates like a hostile drug takeover, which is actually the purpose of the episode to begin with. Though we never meet her family, many assume that, like Jasmine, just by the fact that she lives in Woodcrest, that she too is well off. The irony comes from the fact that, as far as we know, she's straight Caucasian and not biracial at all. Because biracial people can appear more like one race than the other. Then there's the fact that she's also very athletic and great at basketball, even taunting Riley like a street baller would rather than some sort of suburban professional basketball player. Given that the Boondocks spent a lot of time parodying the issues of Black America within the microcosm of fictional Woodcrest, I did find it funny that this flip-flop takes place. And like the perception of wiggas back then, Cindy is also shown to be just a pretender when push comes to shove. And despite all her bluster and bravado, and even occasional violence, she is still a privileged girl from the burbs at the end of the day. Now comes the twist though, because I think both characters in their brief appearances also can show how they are underestimated by both the Freemans and perhaps by Boondocks fans as well. Now, Jasmine is naive, but she can also be extremely perceptive. She's aware of the problems going on with her parents, for example. In a short, hilarious, but also morally questionable moment, she even tries to convince her dad to leave so Sarah can marry Usher to be her stepfather. This moment also shows how morally ambiguous she can be at certain times. She uses her perspective of reality to even challenge the normally righteous Huey on his views. blatantly calling out how his negativity could end up creating more problems for him than they solve. And though others, like his family, have tried to do this, somehow, to me, it feels more pertinent coming from Jasmine because she's the one who's supposed to be clueless. Similarly, with C-Murph, she also challenges her counterpart and Huey's brother, Riley, on some of his views, though it's more low-key. Despite only being a wannabe gangster, Riley still religiously holds to a code of no hoes, and frequently calls women bitches. Ironically, most of the time it's not coming from a place of disrespect per se, but as a product of his environment. If you're paying for a woman in any aspect of life, she's a hoe, according to Riley. However, despite starting out as a rivalry, Cindy is one of the very few females that he actually seems to respect, seeking out her help in fundraising and never referring to her as either a bitch or a hoe. In fact, it's Riley who points out her stronger qualities that can normally get lost under her Wigga character, that she was aggressive and assertive, unlike Jasmine. C-Murph knew what she wanted and would stop at nothing to get it, short of being shot at, of course, and insulting her family. This is important in that not only does it show that she has a similar and compatible business acumen to Riley, if you watched that video I did on Riley, but also represents a very subtle shift in his worldview as well. Both Freeman brothers have a literal black and white perception of the world when the show starts out, but by the end of the series, that view has somewhat changed, acknowledging that the world is more nuanced than they originally thought. And though it's certainly hard to tell, Riley shows this distinction by seeing at least some white people as people first, and Cindy as an equal rather than bling to wear around some dude's arm. Looking at this yin-yang of both young girls, it's easy for me to see now why so many people shit them with the Freeman brothers, respectively. They seem to counterbalance both of them in their own unique ways, and unexpected ways as well, challenging their worldviews while at the same time affirming them. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. This is Fictional Mindbender. Have a good day.